The BlokeBusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network.
You can find us as well as other fine shows such as
Sarcasm City,
That's Delightful,
Worst Millennials,
The Ectoplasm Show,
and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com.
Now get ready to sit back and enjoy another episode of the BlokeBusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Police going off! Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 104 of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
And today we will be talking about The Girl with All the Gifts, directed by Colm McCarthy.
Yes.
Paul? Yeah.
Yes.
So...
very
somebody
interesting
might say, what?
Film,
but
yes.
obviously you pressed play on this, so perhaps you know what we're talking about. So this one kind of came by the way of that director. He has directed an episode of Black Mirror. He's directed a Doctor Who episode, actually. Directed like an entire season of Peaky Blinders, a lot of UK stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, as you might have guessed. So yeah, that's kind of how this came about. But before we get too far into this one, I'm going to toss it over to Paul.
All right, so let's see. First and foremost, we'll get our stuff out of the way. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and such. Just search BlokeBusters there. We're BlokeBusters.com because we finally got that. And if you want to email us at all, you can email theblokes@BlokeBusters.com, and that'll get right to us. So, yeah, I kind of like having that, especially since I kept feeling bad every time I gave out the Gmail address because I forgot the S. Just like,
yes.
You know,
yes. I like the much more streamlined with the added explanation. I like it.
Okay. So yes, this film. Shall we go into maybe like what we thought of it first, or shall we do the cast list first? Yeah,
well, let's just blow through the four main players here that we're going to be dealing with for the most part here.
Yeah, it's probably the best idea there. So you've got Gemma Arterton as Helen Justineau, Paddy Considine as Eddie Parks, Glenn Close as Caroline Caldwell, and I really hope I'm saying this. Dr. Caroline Caldwell. Yes, apologies. And as I was saying, I hope I get this right, and I'm fairly certain it's Senia Nanua as Melanie. And
a fantastic newcomer, yeah.
Yes.
With 2 credits.
Yeah, there
literally
are
2 credits. Yeah.
There are several other people in the film, and we'll mention those if and when we bring them up. So,
yeah. So this was I just finished rewatching this for the second time about an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
I fast forwarded maybe a couple of times through just some of the actiony scenes just because I knew it was happening.
Right.
Might be weird to fast forward through that stuff, but anyway, I kind of was viewing this as a more pensive 28 Days Later, like a more just takes its time. Although it's been a while since I've seen that movie, so maybe I'm mischaracterizing that, but it's really, kind of the whole plague virus situation. And so let's get this out front here. This is not a zombie movie.
No.
What's that?
I was going to say that it does draw very much from the trope, but yes, very much plague.
These hungries or infected, whatever, do possess characteristics of the Z word, but they are not themselves undead. So that always, and I did call this a zombie movie to my friend, and I was quickly corrected, and justifiably so. But I that always bugged me when people would call 28 Days Later a zombie movie, and it is not. It is a plague movie.
Yes.
As well, with extremely fast plague victims. Very scary plague victims. But
Yes.
first, since this was kind of my suggestion, I would really like to hear what you thought of The Girl with All the Gifts.
All right. Well, general feeling towards this film is I thought it was one of the better Plague and it's lump them together. So Plague and Z word films, just in general, I feel like this is one of the better ones I've seen. Just because I thought that there weren't too many characters in it, especially after about 20 minutes.
No, that really kind of cleaned things up there. Yeah.
And you got introduced to these characters relatively slowly. They were pretty much just, you've got your gruff army guy, you've got your caring teacher, and you've got this girl that is clearly the main character, but you don't really know much about. And then as the film goes on, you do start to learn more about them, and it really does start to inform your opinions of them, and maybe you understand why they are the way they are and why they were the way they were at the beginning. And some of them have really good character arcs that they go on, and you can't really say that for most films of this genre, because a lot of it is, whoa, it's the apocalypse and there's just a lot of action and running away and all of that. And of course there is some of that in this, but it's I felt that the character development was very well done, and I thought the writing was quite nice as well, so it was very enjoyable, in my opinion.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. I really, obviously, if I wanted to do this one, I really liked this film. I going in for the first time, I thought I would just kind of, this would be something to put on, and I'll be able to enjoy this a little bit. But I ended up really liking it. I really like, as you said, just as a plague film in general, or as a dystopian movie, even on those standards, I think it's very well done. But I think what really sets this apart is much in the same way that kind of this last season of Black Mirror kind of dealt with kind of rights of the what's the word I'm looking for? Rights of the digital beings or clones. Like, what rights do they have, if any? This kind of deals with other life forms and or a new evolution of a life form, possibly, and what are their rights of existing in this world, and not jumping too far ahead, is it their time? So so that's really what I enjoyed, that I don't really recall having seen before.
No, it's it is something, I guess the closest you could even consider that would be I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the zombie film with Nicholas Hoult in it.
Warm Bodies?
Warm Bodies, that was it, like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's like, and it's absolutely not how this film ends, but the idea of the fact that the people that are infected aren't quite what you would think they are. Like, that's about it. And I can't think of anything else that even comes close to this one in what they tried to do. So I'm trying to remember. Fido was a little like that too, or I don't know. That was I might be misremembering that one, but sorry, Fido fans. You ever see that? Yeah, there was a remake like 10 or so years ago, but I have not
the
seen
pet zombie.
I know that Billy Connolly was in the more recent one, so I would like to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, been a while. So I guess just a real quick rundown. I think we've kind of gone over it a little bit, but anyway, we're in this dystopian future and we kind of meet Melanie getting gathered out of her cell or room. I don't know what you want to call it, but and being brought to a classroom, but being strapped to a wheelchair prior to that. So immediately we know, something's up with these kids, and let alone the colorful language used to refer to them.
Yes.
Yeah. Multiple times. So, and then of course we meet the very kind-hearted and just invested Helen Justineau.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, very reminiscent of the Miss Honey character from Matilda, just like it absolutely just besotted by these kids and just loves teaching them, and is so kind-hearted, but almost to the point of naive, it kind of seems.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, part of me wonders like how she was able to survive in that environment when everyone else is just by the book and cruel, and you think they would have kind of just demoralized her out of that, but maybe it's just maybe it's just a testament to her character or something, that she is not going to be broken by them. So I don't know. So very early on, we get kind of an example of what these kids are capable of, I guess, thanks to Patty.
Yes. Yeah, but effectively, humans now have to put this, I guess, just pheromone blocker basically all over themselves.
I hope there's an SPF factor in there as well. I mean, you might as well kill two birds.
Or not kill any birds, I suppose. Yes. They have to be completely covered in this stuff that masks their scent, because if they are around any of the infected and smell even remotely normal, then it's instant teeth coming out just attempting to eat. And even these intelligent children, the same thing happens. It's completely ingrained in them to just eat most living animals, I think. Unless they're really kind teachers. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's it's something that I was going to bring up a little later, but there is a point later in the film when you do see Melanie eating a cat, but then she doesn't eat a dog. Like, I didn't fully get that one.
Well, the dog was used for diversion, or not diversion, but just, to get the infected or hungries away, or to move them away out of it. Yeah. So I think she probably, and if she had not just eaten, she probably would have.
True. Yeah. So it's
So,
interesting because most of the time it seems as though it's a completely uncontrollable urge, but I guess the truly amazingly intelligent ones of the kids are kind of able to control it somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, she says later, like, in the mobile unit or whatever, she said, I have to eat soon. Like, I gotta. Yeah. You guys gotta let me go because I'm getting hangry here.
Yes.
So you don't want to be around when that happens.
No,
but it's been a rough time for cats for me in some movies recently. And the slight spoiler for Shape of Water. I don't know if you see that one. And then going back to Poor Muse and Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Just cats having a rough time with things.
Yeah, and speaking of just tangenting really quickly, did you see Netflix released a video, I think it was on their Facebook page, of Sean Astin and the cat that played Muse watching their devices in the show?
I think I saw the click, but I did not.
It's just a little fun thing. The idea is that they're consoling each other as they're watching the thing. Kind of cool.
So
back here.
No, you're fine. Yeah, so I don't know. This was kind of brought up early on too, and I don't know how quickly you picked up on it, or I mean, maybe me watching the second time is easier, but this is essentially a remodeled Pandora parable.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that story is brought up very early on. And then with Melanie, having all of the gifts, that's where we get, the titular character here, but kind of spoilery here at the end, but if you can't tell, we're a spoiler cast. Sorry. That is the eventuality of this film, is that she is releasing that last little gift.
And then the slight glimmer of hope as well, right at the end.
That's hope was the last thing in the box. It's the good part that lets you stand all the bad parts. Random thought. I did love that she thinks Schrodinger's cat is stupid.
Yes.
I have felt this way for a long time. How can something be alive and dead? It's one or the other. Just because I don't know, I know what you're trying to say. I'm not going for it. But that's stupid.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it as a thought experiment, but it is one of those things that if you genuinely do apply any practical side of it, there are observable things outside of opening the box that would let you know.
Or just not even outside of that. Like, I don't need to know what it is, but it's one or the other. It's not both.
Yeah, no, it's it really is. It's something to do with like how you must consider it under these exact circumstances. So
so take that, Schrodinger. Eat that. All right, so I don't know if you caught this. This was another second watch catch. I must have been looking away or something, but poor number 13. Did you see what happened to poor number 13?
I don't believe I recall if I did see
So
it.
the students all have numbers that correspond to their cells or housing, whatever you want to call it. And number 13 was across from Melanie. And then the next day in class or whatever, he is mysteriously absent. And then when she is taken to Dr. Caldwell for her to be operated on and killed to, turn into a vaccine that'll cure this fungus. She looks up briefly and there's a brain marked not AB normal, but number 13.
Ah, no, I missed that, yeah.
It would have been nice if it would have marked AB normal, but
yes.
AB normal. But yeah, it was marked number 13. I was like, ooh, yeah, that's what happened to number 13. Okay. So things did not end well for him.
Yeah, I will say I didn't get until she says number 4 when asked for a random number, and it pans out to show it on the door. It's like, oh, yeah, she said 13 before for the random number, and then that's the one that's gone. So I think that was a good way of showing just how intelligent she is, that she's able to put that together like straight away, that her random decision is what caused it. So
yeah, and then inherently does she know that there's something special about her, more, that to call their bluff that they wouldn't kill her, but she doesn't know that she is the cure. Apparently, she can't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could see in that first scene in the class, if you look close, you can see that she's parked on a number 4, but you have to really catch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that reveal on the door is kind of the first time you can really tell. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's one of the things that, and I don't want this to come across as, British films are better than American films or anything like that, but it's one of the things that I find that when it comes to the British style of story making, it is generally a lot more of the slow burn and just like letting things slowly come at you, giving you time to figure it out if you want, or you can just kind of go with it and that it'll all be explained down the line. Whereas I know in a lot of American films, mostly because the attention span has kind of shrunk a little bit. There's not a lot of you'll find out in half an hour. It's more like, oh, here's this thing, and then a bit of dialogue will exactly explain what that thing is and give you huge foreshadowing as to what that's going to be later. So
or the explaining the thing that if you were paying attention for 5 seconds, you should know already. But
yes,
yeah. My go-to always for that, and it was like a big groan in the theater when I saw it, was Peter Jackson's King Kong, or what was that one just called Kong?
I think it was just called Kong. Yeah.
Yeah. No, King Kong. It was King Kong.
Okay.
But when he knows how to say beautiful. Kong does, with like motioning or like pointing at sun, and then Naomi Watts at the end goes, "Yes, beautiful." Has to like say it out loud. I'm like, this is one of those things. I'm like, yep. If you were watching, granted, you have to have a pretty good attention span for that film, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, but anyways, I get your point. I do like a more of a slow burn, and I don't need the constant action. I do like those kind of films, of course, but it's hard for those films to kind of rise to the upper echelon of great films because you cut time for character development and world building if it's just constant action. Yeah. And I think world building and character development is one of these two things that this film did exceptionally well.
Oh yeah, really well. I'd be interested to read the book, because apparently the book and the film were written at the same time, and the guy that wrote the book also wrote the screenplay, but they are different.
Yeah, I really want to read the book, and then I also want to read Are you aware of the other book? That there's a parallel or prequel, I guess. You might call it parallel. It's called The Boy on the Bridge. And it is the story of kind of the whole idea is it's the story of what happened at Beacon. The other post, that they Patty and they try to radio and they hear shit's going down at Beacon. And that's kind of the story of what all happened there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. No, I did not know about that.
So that's available. I'm like, it's on my Amazon wish list right now. Yes,
you'll get to it one day.
Perhaps. Yeah. Okay, where to go from here? So, anyway, I guess if we just want to kind of jump ahead a bit, they kind of get to this burnout city.
And it is
full of hungries.
Yeah, it's somewhere in London. Just based on most of it, I couldn't tell where it was. There is one point. The giant tower is the BT Tower, which is a very well-known landmark in London. But outside of that, and you also saw a building known as the Gherkin at one point when they're doing the big long shot. But in general, when they were walking around on ground level, I couldn't really tell where they were.
And I didn't see the eye either, so the eye must have crumbled or something. I don't know.
Probably. I imagine that. I imagine without upkeep, that thing's not going to stay there much longer.
And there's probably some people up at the top there that were waiting out. the hungry that didn't quite ever make it down.
No.
Sad. Yeah, nothing moves slow. So all right. So anyway, where did you have a point to get across? I know I have a dozen different notes to go from here.
Why don't you go through your notes and then I'm probably going to be piggybacking off most of what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. So I just kind of wanted to talk about the scene where they first kind of are on ground level in that part of London, and it's just a herd doesn't even say it. It's just probably a square mile of just these hungries, very closely packed, and navigating that, and just trying to move silently through them. And then we have the stroller hungry, or the
Yes.
the single mom hungry, or whatever you want to call her. And yeah, I know. I just thought that scene was very, very well done, with Glenn Close trying to stop the stroller from moving, and then just keep putting her foot on there, and then just revealing the blanket on the wee one. Yeah, that's a nice little reveal.
Yeah, that was solidly done. I mean, you've had so many generally zombie films, where you've got the uninfected people attempting to maneuver through a crowd of infected people, and like you've even got it in, say, Shaun of the Dead, when they just all pretending to walk like a zombie. But this one I thought was probably one of the most tense I've seen in a film. And I don't know if that's because of just how well the world building was done, or how attached you are to the characters at this point.
I think, and it was just the proximity and the sheer volume of them, and
and
because even in like the pilot episode of The Walking Dead, they did this, and I think this was done better.
Yeah, and you've also just got the one that Glenn Close's character, she just can't help herself. She is a scientist, so she just has to know, and that's what causes a minor issue for them.
That is one way to put it. And just tangent, but good for Glenn Close for having fun with some film roles.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame her at this point in her career, but she's done some just pretty like fun TV and just some weird movies, and yeah, good for her. Like,
yeah, I mean,
so I was really happy to see her in this.
Yeah, I was not remembering that she was in this at all, and so when she came on screen, I was like, "Oh, it's Glenn Close." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and then of course, just Patty, who I'm sure I can say we both love.
Oh,
so, if nothing for his contribution to the Cornetto trilogy.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he kind of was sort of if his character from Hot Fuzz didn't have like anyone else around, if he'd gone into the army instead of the local police force, so I feel like that's kind of how he could have turned out.
I just love him. I really think he's. I mean, our starlet side here, Senia, I think Patty needs to blow up in America in a bigger way, I think. But
yeah, no, definitely.
Hopefully that'll be coming.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like another English person that similar to him that has made it big over here, and I can't really think of at least anyone recently that would just quite like Paddy. But yeah, so let's hope.
Yeah, he's a unique character actor. Yeah, I really enjoy seeing him.
Yeah,
and he really kind of nailed this role with. I mean, pretty much a blowhard asshole, but kind of reveals some humanity through the rest of the film. I mean, kind of revealed slowly, and then jumping ahead to his last moments, we really kind of get a look into his motivation. For looking, it's kind of said, or not in so many words, that he had a daughter that he was trying to find.
Yeah. And I thought as well that was a really interesting extra bit just to kind of dump onto Melanie at the end, because obviously she's come to accept what she ended up doing, but then someone that she was genuinely trying to keep safe like ends up saying, well, I was out looking for possibly my daughter, and you get that just extra twang in her face when she realizes like, oh, like kudos
and then
all around.
And then she murks him.
Yes. Well, at least it was. Yeah, he asked for it, so.
I mean, he could have asked nicer. I mean, he's like, I don't want to turn into one of them. It's like, wow, you're talking to one of them. I mean, have a little sensitivity.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What did you think of the whole mechanism of the fungus evolving? Like they get grouped together, these beings who were once people, and then they just clump together and create this kind of vine cluster. What did you think of that as like storytelling? What did you think of like visually?
Well, I mean, visually, obviously, it's a really interesting spectacle to see. And I don't know, do you know what the idea behind the actual fungus is? Like, because the whole idea is a mutation. It's a mutation of a genuine, naturally occurring fungus that takes over ants, and it causes them to change their behaviors and do things that benefit the fungus. And then when the ant will die, and then the fungus grows up out of its head, and then eventually releases spores, much like in the film, and then that will infect more ants, and so it goes on and on like that. So I thought it was a genuinely very well done, like, kind of mutation of that. So much like
and it was something I hadn't seen in a film before of this nature, where it kind of went in that direction. Where it went to like, okay, this is how, whether they're sentient or, I mean, it's tough to say how sentient the like low level hungries are, but that they have this sense to congregate and know it will lead to pretty much world domination. So but yeah, jumping ahead. So what's the end game? Because they're going to run out of a food supply at some point.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
yeah.
I
mean, they don't cannibalize.
No. One
maybe
did.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah.
I think one did, but ultimately the end game is simply for the fungus and not the host. So I think So, and I think even if the host body ends up dying, the fungus will still grow. It's just obviously once all the hosts are gone, maybe it'll just naturally turn into more like a mushroom type thing. Like it'll plant itself in the ground somehow.
A shortcut to mushrooms.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, that was for my Hobbit nerds. Or Lord of the Rings nerds, rather. All right. So, what? And then I did want to give a shout out to the Hungry Kids, which were pretty much a savage version of Peter Pan's Lost Boys.
A rather savage version, yes.
I don't know. That's all I could think of when I saw that was just bangarang, bangarang.
I was going to say, could you imagine Hook if it was these guys instead of Rufio?
I really want to. Yeah. I mean, Melanie was kind of the Rufio there in one scene.
Yeah.
But she went a little more Lord of the Flies on those kids than Rufio did. So
yeah, I was going to say, imagine if instead of Rufio you had a, let's say, 10-year-old version of Negan from The Walking Dead, and that's kind of what you got.
That's kind of it's rated R Hook, pretty much. It's it's a little rough, but I love that scene where she just kind of exerts her dominance and just, I mean, I thought it was some fantastic acting by Senia. Just not, because it's very easy to go into like cheese or too much chewing of the scenery there, and I thought the tone was just right, where she was protecting her friends, I guess, if you want to say it that way. But yeah, I just really enjoyed that, and then just brutally demolished the former leader of that troop.
Yeah, and the interesting thing I found as well was when she was using the bat to dispatch him, it was filmed in such a way that you couldn't see any actual connecting, obviously, because I'm sure they didn't want to directly show a kid's head being smashed in, but then you did get about a half a second glimpse of the aftermath at one point, because the camera starts moving around as she's going around and then the other kids start kind of huddling towards the body, and you do just see this, most of a child's body, and then just like a red mush kind of there. It's just a really quick glimpse before it cuts to another angle, but I thought it was done perfectly. It's like, if you're not looking for it, you won't see it, and if you are looking for it, what's wrong with you? But that's...
But yeah, it kind of just shows this isn't your normal 11, 12-year-old girl. Yeah, she's, what was one of the lines, I think, either Glenn Close or something, like, least of all her, like, I don't know, when Patty was trying to explain something, like, you don't need to explain it, least of all her, like, saying, like, yeah, she's probably smarter than all of us. Or maybe not smarter, but more with it, more knows what's going on here than we do.
Ability to understand is a bit
like what was it, the exquisite mimicry of observed behavior.
Yes,
the line that comes back a couple times. I
was saying, and again, that's something that when it comes to Glenn Close's character, I thought was great, that her character didn't really change, like, despite everything. There's only
her motivation stays consistent throughout.
And there's only one thing that we get as a almost 100% definite change, is that she views Melanie as actually alive and not simply a mimic. However, I'm not 100% sold that the character actually does believe that and isn't just telling Melanie what she wants to hear.
Yeah, it should have just said, no, I don't. But probably would have had the same result. Because, Melanie says, we're alive, and she says, you're alive. And then my favorite line, then why should it be us who die for you? No, burn. Mic drop. Walk out of there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you got nothing to say to that.
And another thing that actually in that scene when she explains that she would hold her breath and count to 1,000 in some of the cells, and it clicked in my head the second she said that, like, that's why she was counting at the beginning of the film, because that's never explained until that point, and it's not really an explanation. It's mentioned, and you can put two and two together at that point, because the opening of the film over the opening titles and the production credits, you just hear Melanie counting, and then like she's picked up and moved on, and then you hear it again the next day, and then that's it. Like, you don't hear the counting anymore, and she never explains what it is, and it's not like anyone else knows what it is. And then finally you get the bit where she explains that she was holding her breath and counting. It's like, oh. Nicely done.
Originally I thought it was just counting how long till they were coming, so as she had contraband on the wall, the photos up, and take those down, but obviously you can hear the door open loudly and you can tell people are coming. You don't need to count for that. But
and the other thing as well is assuming that she was doing that, it would be a count down, not a count up. At least the second time, and she doesn't count down, so that's
very true, very true. Anything? I'm through most of my stuff here, Paul. I just had a couple of closing things.
Well, the only other thing I wanted to say with this film is this is another example of sound editing done brilliantly. And it's some people would say, well, obviously it's cheaper to have things be really quiet most of the time, but the one thing that you need to understand in that case is it's not just that things are quiet, it's that things aren't there anymore. There aren't just birds in the trees, there aren't people walking around. It's just it's not the fact that they didn't put it in, it's not supposed to be there now, because it's like everything is gone. So,
and you can feel that. So when there is sound, it's more meaningful, and especially when the pods start to open. That was a beautiful scene. When she sets fire to that giant cluster, and you can just hear all the pods opening, and that was I mean, that was a beautifully shot scene.
Yeah, and another thing, like I myself, I like hearing the sound of fire and the crackling and stuff like that, and so and again, because there's no traffic anywhere, there's no animals around you, all you hear is just the rise of that fire getting bigger and bigger, and the cracking of the vines and the popping of the spores.
Yeah, it's one bonfire I'd like to sit out, though. You can not invite me to that one, thanks.
Yeah, mate. I'll tell you what, why don't we get one of those observation orbs from Jurassic World, and we'll just ride by it. Like, oh yeah, there it is.
But those are notoriously easy to break into, so I don't know. At least by 150-ton extinct animals, but
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I might pass either way on that. So yeah, we kind of wrap up with Melody telling Sergeant Parks, it's all good. It's and maybe not in the way you think it's all good, but if you're human, sorry, it's bad. It's really bad. But it's not over. It's just not yours anymore. And I really love that. Was probably the second favorite line in this film.
Yeah, no, a fantastic line, and the other thing as well is that let's assume that Melanie didn't want to set fire, agrees with the humans and lives with them peacefully. This is just one giant tree with spores. There must be thousands around the world.
Yeah, so we don't know how global this is. I mean, we assume it's global, or at least all through the UK at the very least. If that's the case, it's global either way, because you still one of these things goes up, and it's covering the world.
And it's not just fire as well, because Glenn Close says that it responds to heat and water. So if it rains, ta-da, the same thing will happen, and there's no way you can just put a giant tarpaulin over it.
And it responds to Abba's Dancing Queen. That will also make them open. But
yes,
you didn't hear that line, but it was in there. So anyway, we get our little kind of epilogue with teacher Miss Justineau behind, or in her little habitat, whatever, teaching the Lost Boys and Melanie just beating people with sticks and shoving them down. Get your ass in gear. But the beginning of that scene, we see a kind of tear roll down Miss Justineau's face. And I don't know what exactly it was going for there, where she's just well, this is my life now. But
I mean, is
that kind of what you got?
I think so. I mean, she, as far as she knows, she's the last uninfected person alive. So she might be alive, but she is just stuck.
Watch Last Man on Earth. There's 200 people that are the last man on Earth. So you're fine. Yeah, you'll be running into Will Forte and Jason Sudeikis and all of them in no time flat. But I really want to see more of this world. I want this to be a trilogy. I want to know what happens now. With the kind of the hungry uprising. Just kind of a la Westworld. It's their time now. So I really want to see that and see what is left of humanity, if anything, and do they get to have a role, or are they just wiped out?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be interesting. I think the problem you might run into, depending on who takes it up, is you're going to run into something like Legend, or even the recent Planet of the Apes film, where it just becomes it's another them versus them, and obviously if it's a trilogy, the second one is going to be the most difficult to get right. So I would kind of hope that the same people would come back, because they know the world, and I wouldn't want this to now come over to America and just have someone in Hollywood go, I'll do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I want to see pretty much picking up right where we left off. Or very shortly after.
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine with say the next film opens with Helen coming outside, like just like she'd had enough, and so she decides that she's done, and then you could either have it that she dies and this group needs to move on, or maybe she doesn't die and the spores are gone. Like so, So I think it could be very, very interesting. But yes, as I said, I want the people that made this film to make any future films.
Yeah. So yes, congratulations, Cole McCarthy. Like, I'm very impressed, and I want to see more features from him. I mean, his episodic stuff is great. I mean, he directed an episode of Sherlock. Dude knows what he's doing. But and obviously has an eye for talent. So
definitely
good things to come, hopefully.
Yeah, this was his first feature film. And you had to say that very carefully because if he did an episode of Sherlock, he's done a feature length thing. So, but yes, this is his first major feature film that he does.
So he did a film called Outcast, but I don't think that got a release really. So without looking too much into it, but I think that's about gonna do it for us as far as the girl with all the gifts. I did want to just briefly say, for whenever you're listening to this, just a quick plug, not that this film needs it, but go see A Quiet Place. Everybody, go see it. Go see it. It's amazing. Paul, if you can, if you're able, watch it as soon as you can, even if that's at home. You will so appreciate and love every second of it. It is incredibly well done and riveting and just wow. Not just a great horror movie, a great movie.
All right.
Definitely the best film I've seen. I would say maybe top 2 or 3 I've seen in 2018 easily. But yeah, go see that one. So
okay.
So with that, I'm all talked out. Paul, you got any parting words?
No, I think with regards to this film, the only thing I'll say is like do go and see it somehow. Like it, I believe it's on.
It's
Amazon
on.
Prime right now.
I don't know if we said it's on Amazon Prime. If you have that or know someone that'll let you use theirs, so you can go about it that way or whatever ways you can cleverly figure out.
Yeah, and do go and see it. I know we basically given away the majority of the plot, but there's so much that we didn't cover, and like so many great performances that it's just well worth seeing.
Let it kind of, like I said, let it take its time, and it's a fun watch.
Which is kind of funny if you actually think about it. Like, it's really fun to watch the utter destruction of humanity.
Absolutely. Anything else, Paul?
Well, the only other thing that I wanted to do here would be to do our next giveaway. Since we've had the response, so I feel like we should probably get another one out now. And we had a real quick discussion at the beginning before we hit record, and I believe we have agreed that we would like you guys to get a hold of us and tell us your favorite plague film. So, and I think we should say right now, zombie does not equal plague. So let's give it a think.
Make sure it is plague. These are not undead. These are infected.
Yes.
But any plague. It doesn't have to be even. I'll toss one out there, like Outbreak, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah, or if you happen to have seen a film about the Black Death.
I guess that counts.
Yeah, technically with the plague. So,
There's the Holy Grail, or Bring Out Your Dead.
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for us to go here. So
yes. So as I said, get a hold of us with that. Win one of our wonderful DVDs from Wild Eye Releasing, and you can do that as we said at the beginning. You got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Just search BlokeBusters, or you can email us at theblokes@blokebusters.com. And yeah, just first one to get a hold of us with a plague film, as we said, then you will be the winner of a wonderful DVD, if not more. Possible surprise in that.
How about that? Yes, there might be a bonus in there. We'll see. Okay.
All right.
With all of that,
Yes.
I've been Brian.
And I've been Paul.
Bye.
Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.